Welcome to ByProduct Live, where we unbox everything SaaS and product. We talk with experts and leaders in SaaS and product to understand their approach to leadership and ways of working, to share their knowledge and understanding. ByProduct Live is brought to you in partnership with AmSource. AmSource are a specialist talent solutions business to startup and scaling tech businesses globally. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Bastian Eichler to discuss the importance of impact in the work that you do. Bastian's an experienced product leader currently working at WorkMotion. WorkMotion allows organizations to hire and onboard team members pretty much anywhere in the world and to do that seamlessly. As we say, Bastian's a firm believer in impact and making a difference in the work that you do, and much more focused on impact over profit in each of his roles that he's worked in. On a personal level, Bastian's a big fan of Eintracht Frankfurt, and he's also got a soft spot for llamas. Bastian, welcome to the podcast ByProduct Live today. How are you?
Great. Thanks a lot for having me, Andrew. And I'm delighted to talk about this topic with you today.
No problem. So, a really good point for us to start the conversation is actually, what does impact and making a difference mean to you?
I think that's something I learned throughout my career, right? That positions I'm taking, they really have to make an impact. I'm 39 years old now, right? And it's very different to the beginning of my career. And I'm always looking into positions where I can really feel that you change something significantly for others. I'm coming from the B2B world. I'm always have been working in B2B SaaS. So I help companies make a difference. And I think that's very important. For example, currently at WorkMotion, as you pointed out, we make a difference by shaping the future of work, by tearing down borders, by basically giving employees around the whole world an opportunity to work for a company wherever they want to work for without having to move to that country, and for companies to solve a big problem of theirs, which is the global shortage of labor, of skilled labor that a lot of companies are facing right now. And for me, this is very important. This is something that drives me, right? Like if I imagine working for a company that also might have a nice goal in mind, but this goal, the thing that they're doing, is not really impacting anything in the society, and not really having something that really sparks some positive change. I'm not sure how much I would go for such a position anymore, right? And for me, this has become very important for me, and I can only recommend this to everyone else, because this is really something that not only motivates you, it inspires you to go to work each day.
Yeah, cool. And when you have that outlook, what kind of impact does that have on the teams that you lead and the way that you lead those individuals, and then ultimately, obviously, the impact on the organization that you're working for?
Oh, it's incredibly important, right? So I think each company should spend a lot of time first thinking about their vision and their mission, and then what strategy this results into. I come from the product world, and I see so many companies fail because they start with a nice technological idea, something like a solution, without ever having been thinking about the problem beforehand. And that's, for me, one of the basic mistakes that many companies are doing, and which I, as a product leader, know how to deal with and how to do it differently. And I'm very happy that I found a company with WorkMotion who's doing it this way, who has a clear vision about how the future of work looks like, creates the mission and the strategy as a basis of that, and then translates this into a strong OKR set, which I always would recommend. OKRs are basically your way to give your team the guidance they need on, why is my work important? I joined this company to do something good, to have an impact. And now, what is my impact in all of this? This is exactly what OKRs were made for. And I always recommend to have a very strong OKR set, to spend a lot of time in this and really think it through. Make always sure that it is really connected to your vision and your mission very well. And if you do this right, then you will feel a completely different energy in the team, and you will see everyone perform on a completely different level than if this feeling is missing.
Yeah. And I think sometimes organizations probably say that they are doing this for an impact, but actually it's very easy for people in their teams and people externally actually to maybe see through sometimes what people say versus what it's like on the inside of an organization. I think that could probably have the opposite effect on people, right?
I guess so, yeah. And I mean, we also don't have to be like pretending that profit doesn't play a role. Profit plays a role at WorkMotion and other companies as well. It should, right? Like it
It's
ensures
not
that
a dirty word, right?
yeah, and your company has to exist, right? Like if the company doesn't exist, you cannot impact anything. If you don't generate profits, you fail to exist, right? So,
Yeah,
and of course, especially in the startup world, you have people that invested their money mainly with the goal to optimize their profits, right? You cannot
yeah,
negate that, but it doesn't mean that you are just like setting your whole strategy according to, for example, what the investors want to do. I think that's just the important thing, right?
yeah.
Of course, they want to optimize the profit for the money they invested, but this doesn't mean that your company's strategy and your goal on what you want to impact has to change because of that.
Yeah, cool. And when you're communicating that to your team, how do you find is the easiest way to do that? To communicate that kind of impact feeling so that everybody feels part of that mission.
I think everyone in the company should be in touch with the people we affect positively in some kind of way. Like how
Okay.
we are doing it, for example, we regularly bring customers in our all hands meetings. And the
Okay.
customers tell about what we changed for them, right? How their life has changed. In our case, it's like HR professionals who tell us about how easy their life has gotten, and like hiring people abroad, and how we support this with our product, with our services, and our support, and how this makes an impact. Or another good way is on the employee side, where, for example, we're currently like doing a lot of talent testimonials, like
Yeah.
having people talk about how working in such an environment, a remote setting that we enabled with the product that we're selling, changed their life to a better. And
Yeah.
this is so powerful to hear this, and I think that's the best way of communicating this, also involved in putting code into a platform that at the end leads into someone telling you that this changed their life and this gave them an opportunity they never had before. Like, for example, one of our employees that's hired us, Joao, who currently you might find on LinkedIn, telling about how his life changed because he couldn't find a job in Portugal that suited his needs. And so
Yeah.
through us, he was able to work for a Swedish company in a position he could have never found in Portugal, right? So,
Of course.
if you get this transport, this kind of message, the best thing is really to let the people your product impact speak for themselves.
Yeah. I think this is sometimes something that gets easily forgotten is if you're a software engineer or if you are a product manager that works in the back end of tech, it's understanding that, yes, you're building a piece of software, but actually it does affect people's lives and that positive impact that it does have. And I think obviously part of what you've just said is making sure people can feel that that's a real thing to them. And I think that's sometimes something that businesses probably struggle to do.
100%. I think it's so important, especially thinking about my role as a product leader, to make sure also on the engineering team side, they really know why they're building things. And
Yeah.
like we include our engineering team very early in the phase already, where we are looking at a certain problem we identified in the product team, bringing them in already, discussing what could be potential solutions to this problem, and also giving them a very good understanding why this is a problem to the customer.
Yeah.
It will result in a much, much better functionality afterwards, if they work with having this in mind from the start, and not just, like coding based on some task they found on the Jira board.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes then to growing and scaling your teams, when you're interviewing people to come and work with you, is this something that you look for in their makeup, that they have a passion for making a difference? Is that something that's important to you?
I think it's important. It's not always easy to figure out, I would say, right?
Yeah,
Because that's the problem with a job interview. It's a sneak peek you get, right, of this
yeah,
candidate, and it's hard sometimes to also look behind the mask, because especially in such scenarios, people wear a mask. That's completely natural, right? Because you try to present yourself in the best light. So it's not always easy to figure this out, but I try, right? And I think very typically, like someone who, for example, in the case of WorkMotion, wouldn't believe in remote work, in distributed teams, and the
of
positive
course.
impact it had, why should he even work for this company, right? Like one of my standard questions to figure this out is like, why did you apply with WorkMotion? And also, please tell me about what other positions did you apply for? What other companies have received your
Yeah.
application? I want to figure out. And with this, I get a bit behind the motivation of the candidates.
Yeah. And I guess when it comes to your own, I guess, thought process and well-being in a role, working in a matter, it must have such a positive impact on you, because everybody that works, and particularly as a product leader, days can be stressful. But I would think that working and believing in the mission makes a real difference to you on a personal level day to day.
It does. It does. And that's what keeps me driving. I think product managers in general are always a little bit endangered to go into a mode where it gets unhealthy because so many things are thrown your way. You're constantly working on your absolute capacity, and it's a really challenging, hard job, right? And you put a lot
Yeah.
of time into it if you really do it with the passion that it requires to be successful. And like I think the stress that comes out of that can either be a positive or a negative stress, right? There's even like
Yeah.
I think the scientific term is eustress and de-stress, and like you should always see that you find a company where you can work in the mode where you have stress that's unavoidable as a product leader, but this kind of positive stress, the stress that doesn't feel you at the end of the day like you don't want to get up in the next morning, right? And
Yeah.
having this kind of setup where you feel that you really make an impact on people, on societies, I think that's exactly what, at least for me, gives me this positive stress I need, and that's why I'm
Yeah.
enjoying it.
Cool. Well, I think that's a really good place for us to kind of draw this conversation to a close. Positive stress. I think that's something that we could take away. But I just really want to thank you for your time today, Bastian. It's been really interesting hearing about you and your journey, and obviously the impact it's had on you, but also then your ability to kind of translate that into the teams that you're working in. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.
It was a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me, Andrew.
Thank you.